This movie has been on my personal watch list for the past, I don't know, 3 years. At least since I started this channel, I've been wanting to watch Zootopia. I never got to it. And finally, in the year 2022, I've got to the movie Zootopia. I'm excited to talk about it on this episode of Movie Breakdowns. What's up, world? Welcome to another episode of Movie Breakdowns. I'm your host, Ali Zakka. And before I get started, there's a review you want me to do, let me know. Please put in the comment section below and I get to as best I can. Also Patreon.com/AliZakka for $2 a month. You get reviews, get put at the beginning of the line, cut in front of everybody else, get out there on YouTube, Facebook before it gets released on YouTube and Facebook. And you get other stuff on there like such as trailer reaction content, like list reviews and stuff like that I put it on the Patreon. Now, let's go and get into today's episode, 2016's Zootopia. And what is this movie about? Well, this movie is about one, I should tell you what the premise of before I even hop into what the story is. So the world is nothing but animals. Animals and predators and prey living amongst each other. Pretty much a lion can live right next to a bunny and they're walking together and like interact with each other, stuff like that. Like predators and prey is all they're coexisting. So the animal evolution has evolved to like humans pretty much. We're no longer jaguars are hunting pigs and lambs, which I don't know what jaguar hunts. But you get my premise, idea of it. And you have a bunny who wants to become a cop. And now mostly cops are considered big, strong animals like ox, bears, lions, jaguars, like animals that are pretty much dominant animals in their animal tree. And a bunny wants to become a cop, and they just like told her like you can never be a cop, you're wishful thinking, and she's like, I can do this. So therefore you have this little bunny following her dreams, and when she gets that dream accomplished, she finds that there's more issues where people are looking down on her, don't think she can do it, and she gets tasked with almost like a job that can't be achieved, and she has to find a way to solve this case and show that she is still just as anybody else, a good cop just like anybody else, and at the same time solve a case that can't be solved within 2 weeks or haven't been solved within 2 weeks. And that is the purpose of Zootopia. Like, it's about a bunny rabbit who is trying to solve a case and prove that she is worthy enough to be one of the top officers in her division and that she can make her dream come true. That is the premise of it. Underneath that, it's much, much more stuff that goes on in this movie that I really enjoy. So the things that I like how this movie not just talk about following your dreams and accomplish your dreams and somebody telling you you can, but also talks about like stereotypes and how not to judge people before you actually get to meet them. And it also talks about like, yeah, pretty much stereotypes and following your dreams. That's pretty much the premise of this movie. Like that's it. And one of the people that our main character, Judy, teams up with this guy named Nick Wilde. He's a fox. And Wilde is, what you think of the fox is sleazy, cunning, kind of sly. Well, she teams up with this fox because she thought this fox was trying to like get a popsicle. In reality, he was being a con man, and she catch him on it, and she pretty much ropes him into this case to figure out who took these missing animals. And the reason for Nick's behavior, because he was told as a kid that he'd never be a part of like a non-cunning, just be outside his line, be outside what he wanted to be. He wanted to be like a good Samaritan. He want to be part of like Boy Scouts, but the non-predator animals, the prey animals, they picked on him. And just really showing this movie that kids could be jerks. But they picked on him, so he figured, well, if everything I'm gonna be a fox, a sleazy fox, I might as well become what everybody thinks versus beating that perception and being what he wants. And Judy kind of helps teaches him like, you don't have to follow whatever I believe you should be. Be who you want to be. And I love that premise of this movie. And I love the whole like, just because somebody's a predator doesn't mean, in this movie, the animals are like, for example, a wolf. Because a wolf is a predator doesn't mean he's actually a predator. He could be just a good person going to the store, living a mundane life, going to work, go home, and get up, do it all over again, pay the bills. But he's not out getting the people. And there's somebody in this movie who tries to turn the predators into like their primal state for pretty much her own vindictive vendetta. That is pretty much what it comes down to. But I do love like the storyline in this movie about following your dreams and don't let people's stereotypes on you plug you to what you should do and how you should live your life. Like, I love that. I thought that was an awesome storyline. And I found myself really, really enjoying this movie. The animation is good. The storyline, the plot, the animation, the voice acting, everything about this, the colors in this movie was good. I love the world building in this. I love how the city is cut up into different pieces. You have like the desert, the frozen tundra, the rainforest, and each animal, depending on how they're living, their habitat, live in these parts of the city. And then you have the middle piece, which is the center of it all. And I love how the movie shows you each area, and it shows you versus like her traveling. So it's a good exposition done where it doesn't telling you, you see it. You see every part she goes to, and you see every part of the city, and then she has to go to those parts to, solve this case. And I also love how it's not just we haven't gone to that part, so let's go figure out how to get with her. She's like, no, I'm just gonna drive right into the frozen tundra area and talk down to this fox and say, what are you doing, bro? Like, I love the world building in this movie. I love the whole design, the characters, and everything about this movie. I thought the movie was fun. It also good comedy bits too. Things that I didn't expect would be like hilarious, but there's some hilarious pieces in this movie that I actually chuckled and laughed at. And I thought like, okay, cool. Like, I'm down for this. I'm down to clown. Also like how certain things happen in the city. They overlap each other in this movie. So, for example, there's a character who, I'll just say Little Mouse. She was in a city where like it's all little mouse stuff. Like, it's all like a small world pretty much. So everything is a size for mouse and little rodents. And Judy is chasing down this weasel, and the weasel knocks over a giant donut, or I guess a donut building, and almost crushes Little Mouse. Judy saves the mouse, and then later in the movie, that mouse ended up being the daughter of pretty much Don Corleone, but the Godfather. I think that's who it is. But it pretty much was the Godfather, and that was his daughter. And I love it how the mouse is like, oh, she saved my life. And he's like, oh, you saved my daughter's life? But then I'm going to pay it forward by saving your life and figure out how to find your weasel. Like, and I love the stereotype, like, oh, they're mob bosses and everything, or Mr. Biggs, but he's not big, he's actually small. He's a mouse who's pretty much running a bunch of polar bears, which is hilarious. He's a mobster mouse with polar bears as henchmen. And I just love the dynamic of this movie. Like, it was cool visuals, great stuff. I loved it. Loved it. Now, the things I didn't like. It's a Disney movie. So Disney has their tropes. Just like Marvel movies, Disney has their tropes. And this one almost broke away from it. You almost got away from the same fight scene, stereotype makeup scene. Like, oh, we are going through a rift. Why would you do that? You betrayed me. No, I didn't. Like, you have that scene in this movie. It's not as dramatic. It's not as in your face. Like, most movies make it obvious. This one, Judy goes onto a podium and she starts telling like what she heard from the case and saying that like the predators are becoming primal and they're going back to their natural state. And Nick hears that. He's at the press conference and he hears that and he gets offended. He's like, so we're all just predators, all going back to our natural state. We shouldn't be trusted. He's like, what are you talking about? And Judy's like, I'm sorry, I didn't use my words right. He's like, skip it. You think I want to eat you? And he looks at her like she has fox repellent or fox pepper spray on her. And he's like, I noticed that there since I first saw you and you're afraid of me. And he was like, you know what? I'm out. I'm not going to be a part of this. I'm not going to demean predators here because you think we're all going to go back to our primal state. And there's that breakup scene where where it's a sad moment. Judy hits rock bottom and then she goes back home. And then at home she figures out these flowers that turns people crazy. Not just predators, but prey too. Like her uncle bit her mom because he ate one of the flowers, and they was like, "What? Like these flowers turn people into go make them go crazy," and she figured out the case that way. But I was like, "Oh, there's a sad scene that every story, Disney story, has to happen where you hit your rock bottom and then go back up." Versus, like, they could have figured it out together, but no, you gotta have the fight. You have the makeup scene where the two make up, Nick and Judy makes up. And I do like this, that they didn't make Judy and Nick like lovers. They didn't fall in love with each other. They just became really good friends. And Judy and Nick end up becoming teammates on the police force at the end of the movie. But that's probably my one gripe. And then I would say the music by Shakira in the movie was a little like, okay. But I think because it's a kids movie, so you gotta have something to keep the kids in. But I was like, that doesn't hit for me, Chief. That doesn't hit for me. That's just a super nitpick. But I think the trope of the ups and downs, and granted, Nick does legit tells Judy what's about to happen in this movie. He tells her, like, you gotta get big headed and, like, you know, all this stuff. And then you're gonna find yourself working so hard to find out none of it matters. And you'll be back, you know, square zero and go back home. And then it plays out how Nick plays it out. And you figure out who the bad guy is at one point. Like, the movie does at one point give it away because a character gets mistreated so badly by her boss that she ended up becoming the bad guy at the end of the movie, which is another trope you've seen in other movies. And by the point we realize that it's not, they couldn't solve the case yet, they don't know how these people getting turned into monsters or get turned into lunatics or crazy animals, it hits you that, like, wait a minute, who motive is this? And then you kind of find out, like, oh, it is the sheep. It's your motive because you're tired of being bossed around. Got you. Okay, we get it. So, like, I figured out who the villain was, but there was a part of this movie where I did not know how the movie was going to end, and I didn't know where the movie was going to go. So, those are like my two negatives about the movie. It's fine. All right, let's go and get to the cast and directing. So, Zootopia came out in 2016. The movie's an hour and 48 minutes, which I think is a perfect runtime. It was solid. The director is Brian Howard, Rich Moore, and Jared Bush. Writers are Brian Howard, Rich Moore, and Jared Bush. The box office for this movie had a budget of $150 million and it grossed worldwide, wow, 1 billion. Yeah, 1 billion plus. Wow. Good for them. Good for them. The cast here, we have Jennifer Goodwin, who played Judy Hopps. I thought Jennifer did a good job. Her voice acting for Judy was solid. And Judy as a character, I truly love. Somebody who want to go out there, goals and dreams, who want to break the stereotype that rabbits can't be anything other than, you know, carrot farmers. They can be officers. They can be who they want. So she's like the first police bunny in the movie, like, ever. And I like that. And then she had to go through, like, the whole, because you accomplish your dreams, there will be some ups and downs after that. And she had to go through the whole ups and downs and realize that, like, okay, I gotta be smart with my job. I just can't say anything I want. Like, it's gonna be tough, but we'll make this happen. Also, they put Judy in, like, she got to, you know, go to a big city, but her apartment was like one of those rinky-dinks apartments that said it's a luxury apartment. I've heard it before. I've seen it before living in Kansas City, Missouri. And yeah, I feel you that. Kansas City's not that big of a city compared to other bigger cities in the United States. But yeah, I felt that though myself. Jason Bateman, who played Nick Wilde. Jason Bateman, who played Nick. Nick is an interesting character. And I feel like Jason Bateman came through Nick. Like, I feel like when I looked at Nick and hear Nick talk, it's nothing but Jason I can hear, and Jason's facial expressions that he does in all his movies, stuff like that. I feel like Nick was definitely direct or created to be, like, embody Jason, and I felt like it was solid. Like, I thought Nick was a good character who kind of, like, reluctant, who didn't really want to be a part of it, but he's getting blackmailed, so he's like, all right, I'm just going to go ahead and do it, help this out to save my own tail, and end up becoming like, no, Judy's not a bad officer, she's a good person, I'm going to be right there with her. Idris Elba, who played Chief Bongo, or Bogo. Idris Elba was great. When I first heard him come in, I was like, is that Idris? That is Idris. Thought he was good. Thought he was solid. Jenny Slate, who played Bellwether, who was the sheep. She was fine. She was cool. And J.K. Simmons, because I freaking love J.K. Simmons. He played with Mayor Lionheart, and when I heard him, I was like, yes, J.K. Simmons in this movie's 10 times better. You know, he had a small role. I loved that J.K. Simmons in this movie. He was being voiced in this movie. I thought it was great. But the main two characters are Judy and Nick, and I think the dynamic and the way the characters are written was great. I think it played out well. It's a buddy cop movie, but I think it was a solid buddy cop movie, and I never knew how the movie was going to play out. I thought it was great until the very end. Like, after I got past like them finding the flowers and everything, I was like, I know who it's gonna be. I know who's gonna be the bad guy. We figured it out. And then when it happened, you're like, yep. But I do like how the characters were even smart on it too, because she shows up and they're like, how did you know it was here? And they're like, run. Love it. Loves it. And I like the plot twist too. I was curious to see how it was going to play out. I thought maybe the berries that Nick was eating were going to prevent him from getting turned into a savage. I figured like it was going to come. Like, I saw it coming, and then it ended up being a joke. They switched the gun out with the berries. I was like, oh, so it was the berries playing involved. And I like how that little ending there. I saw it, but I didn't see it coming. Like, you had a little foresight, but you couldn't see how it played out. Like, That's So Raven, you can see a clip of the future, but you don't know how the future is going to really react like that. Any other thoughts? No, I thought the animation was great. The solid music. I thought the music was good. Besides Shakira's like singing, I thought that was like, to me, it just took me out of the movie when she was like why is Shakira in this movie? What's the point? But it's a kids movie too, so I get it. Like, you gotta have something to get the kids involved and something to keep the kids entertained. It's fine. But the audio score, not the audio score, but the other score of the movie, the other movie score, the OST, I thought was solid. I enjoyed it. Nothing really too memorable, but I definitely enjoyed it. Nothing like, oh my god, like it's bland. It was interesting. The animation was great. The creative, the art of the movie was solid. The designs of the character was solid. I loved it. I loved it all the way everything looked. The world building was great, and the costume design for the characters and the creations of it, artwork, freaking love it. It's a fan of art, love it, love all about it. All right, is this a Friday night movie? Yes. Friday night movie, watch your friends and family and grade time. I'm going to grade Zootopia from 2016 an A-. This movie gets an A- for me. I enjoyed it. I had a fun time watching this movie. It's 90%. Loved it. Like I said, my only nitpicks in this movie was like the whole, you gotta have the downtime where like the character hits rock bottom in every Disney movie, so like the trope there was there. But I truly enjoyed it. I thought it was great. So I give this movie an A-. IMDb gives me an 8.0 out of 10, so that's a B-. And Rotten Tomatoes gives this movie a 98%, so that's an A+. And the audience gives the movie a 92%, which is an A-. So I'm right there with the audience on Zootopia. That was a great movie, a movie you definitely should check out. If you've seen Zootopia, what did you think? Put it in the comment section below. Other than that, see you guys on the next episode of Movie Breakdowns, and keep being awesome. Thank you so much for making it to the end of this video. I really appreciate that. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment. If there's a review you want me to watch or do, let me know. Please put it in the comment section below this video. Also, you want to watch the last episode of Movie Breakdowns, it's right there. Just gotta click on it and you'll be able to watch it. Thank you guys so much. I appreciate it. Love y'all, and keep being awesome.